one's asked you why. The world keeps spinning, no one seems to care. Lost in the noise, a silent prayer. Does anyone out there even hear the cry? I'm just a voice in the wind, but I'll keep on screaming, 'cause someone's missing. I won't stop dreaming.
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Is the sound okay before I get started? Because I always have mic problems and I do not want to have a 1 hour live on mute. Can you guys hear me okay? I'll wait on you guys first because that was so funny. I did a whole 1 hour live and it was nothing. All right. Thanks, PJ. I really appreciate it. If you guys aren't familiar with Unscripted Chronicle, please get over there and you can share your link if you want to. Get over there and sub up to her. If you're wanting to hear about awareness, she does really, really good with that stuff. I think she's kind of changing it up a little bit, but head on over there and subscribe. You won't be disappointed. I'm sure you can find something that interests you. I'm over there all the time. All right, so what I'm doing tonight is my normal Project Cold Case Unsolved Homicides, where I discuss the person before how they passed away. I don't know about you guys, but I really don't want to be remembered for how I pass away. I would rather be remembered by what I've done in life. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. There's her link, guys. If you want to head on over there, go right ahead. Just come back if you will. And then, I got some back. Sure. Okay. All right. So, guys, head on over there, subscribe to her, and then come back over here and we'll get started. So, first, let me get all this loaded up. Okay, so first we have Kathy Lynn Galati. I always say that wrong and I never mean to. If I say any of these names wrong or their towns, I don't mean it out of disrespect. It's just I'm not great with some town names and some names in particular, just names. I apologize ahead of time, but sometimes I just say them wrong. Okay, so on November 21st at night, hi, Pink Peony. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. It's nice to see you. Just, okay, great, great. So, unscripted, you have one more sub. That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. On November 21st, 1971, 13-year-old Kathy Lynn Galati left her Franklin, New Hampshire home and walked to a convenience store nearby. Now, after purchasing ice cream and potato sticks, which she spotted off of campus of Franklin High School, she disappeared. The next afternoon, the body of Kathy Galati, wearing only knee-high socks, was found in the woods near a popular swimming spot just off Weber Street. Now that's called Chance Pond Road. It's around 3 miles from her home and a mile or so from where she was last seen. Now, Kathy had been beaten, raped, strangled, and had been ran over repeatedly by a car. Are you listening to this unscripted? Because lock your doors. Over the last 45 years, countless investigations and agencies have just all reviewed Kathy's case. There's persons of interest have been identified and interviewed, but absolutely not one arrest has ever been made. Yes, definitely unscripted. So in 2006, Edward Duquette, a convicted sex offender who served time for raping and killing a young girl, came forward claiming to have information about Kathy. Well, he had some connections to the Galati family, and according to some reports, he was among the original persons of interest. Now, he did confess to being with Kathy the day she was killed, but portions of the story just don't match the evidence. He died in 2009. Now, it's been suggested by a number of individuals with intimate knowledge about the case that more than one person was involved in Kathy's abduction, rape, and murder. Kathy's family has endured tremendous grief over the last 45 years. On top of the unsolved rape and murder, Kathy's older brother had died from open heart surgery. Her father succumbed to cancer in 1997, and her mom took her own life. Oh, that's horrible. That's so heartbreaking. Kathy's Kathy's remaining family members have not given up hope. They continue to pursue justice and even advocate for families of unsolved cases. The family was instrumental in pushing for New Hampshire's statewide cold case unit. That's amazing. That good for them. Kathy's sister Karen has authored two books about Kathy's case and her journey for justice. A Child is Missing, a True Story, and the sequel, A Child is Missing, Searching for Justice, a True Story. Now, both of those books are available on Amazon.com and Karen's website. Karen also contributed two books to the Grief Diaries series, Grief Diaries, Project Cold Case and Grief Diaries, Surviving Loss by Homicide. Karen also travels to speak at all unsolved homicide meetings to law enforcement agencies across the country, as well as to criminal justice students at universities. Now, Karen does note the value of teaching the future law enforcement officers about the importance of pursuing unsolved cases. On February 13th, 2017, Kathy Lynn Glotty should have celebrated her 59th birthday. Instead, she is forever 13. If you know anything about the abduction, rape, or murder of Kathy Glotty, no matter how small you think it is, please call the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit at 603 271 2663. And you can also submit a tip online, and it says here, but it's just going to take you to Crime Stoppers. Hey, Fard, thank you for coming in. There is like a little YouTube short here. Where I'm getting this information is Project Cold Case. It's just their original website, but I'm not sure what news station that is, so I'm kind of afraid to play it because some of these, if any of the news stations are by Sinclair, owned by Sinclair, they'll strike you immediately. So I'm kind of afraid to share that, or I would share that with you guys. Let me see what you guys say in chat. Far, I'm so happy to see you. Yes, it's terrible. Oh my gosh. Yeah, 41 minutes away from you. See? And that was back in 1971. So you can imagine the crime rate now compared to 1971, right? Oh, that's lock those doors, girl. So next we have Wendy Lee Madden. Now, Sue Cormier, I'm going to say this wrong and I apologize. Sue Cormier wasn't on the Pawtucket Police Department when Wendy Madden was brutally raped and murdered in March of 1991. But 22 years later, she reported the case when some unexpected information came in. Let me make sure that I have that up there and you guys can see that. Sometimes it just doesn't load. Okay, good. Good, you can. A detective from another department was interviewing someone about a case he was investigating. The man couldn't help with this case, but said, I do know something about the girl Wendy who had died. Now, the investigator matched the information to Madden's murder and contacted the Pawtucket Police Department in Rhode Island. In the nearly 5 years that's followed, Comier has practically been living the case, mostly around active investigations. Around the veteran detective, she believes a couple of months away from presenting her findings and a suspect to the Attorney General's office. Listen to me, I'm just stutterbox tonight. It took a painstakingly malicious process to get here. One anchored in old-fashioned police work that benefited from modern advances such as DNA technology and social media. Now, she joined the Pawtucket Department as a police officer 2 years after Madden was strangled, but she knew the basic details of the case, which started with Madden's March 11th, 1991 disappearance, 5 days after her 23rd birthday. Now, Madden left her home, she shared with her mom, at about 11 p.m. to walk 5 or 6 minutes away to the store to buy cigarettes. She made it there. Well, they can confirm that she did make it there and was later seen talking to people closer to her house that night. But that's where the trail ends. 2 days later, a neighbor that lived next to the bar that Madden sometimes frequented, was taking her trash out and saw a woman's body behind the establishment. It was Madden, a horrific ending for a young woman who she said she just had a rough upbringing. The bar was just an 8 to 10-minute walk from Madden's home. Now, after reopening the case in 2013, Comer pulled 5 boxes of evidence and the original reports, which were handwritten in 1990 from the evidence room. None of the photos were there. Imagine that, right? But 2 weeks later, she found the negatives that had been misfiled in the archives at the city hall. Then she had those prints made, and she also had some VHS tapes digitalized. Then came the slow, deliberate process of piecing together what happened to Madden. I started reading and reading and reading the reports over and over. It was almost like a novel, she said, who's been a detective for 14 years. Now, knowing these reports so well is very important in cases like Madden's. There's a saying with cold cases that your suspect is somewhere in the original case file. She says, well, it's rare. It's not there as a witness. She did research online, found witnesses, interviewed many people and from many reports. She also traveled to other states to follow leads, and as expected, the years that passed took all the evidence away as well. The bar had been knocked down, and its manager has died, and the Madden's ex-boyfriend, well, and some of her colleagues, most of those are gone too. But Comer found a way to bring in other people to talk to. In a move that she learned from the detective who shared the tip in her, let me start over. In a move she learned from the detective who shared the tip with her in 2013, she started a Facebook page for Madden's case. From there, I got more leads and more information and people that would just reach out to me, she says. She also received a lot of photos. Now, she routinely asks people to share the Facebook page, which has helped her connect with many of Madden's friends and family members. I want to reach out to the right person, she says. Now, as she will talk to anyone, including a couple of psychics who have reached out to her. One had information that kind of piqued her interest. Sometimes I don't believe in that stuff, she says. Sometimes some people have gifts. She's willing to take any step necessary to find Madden's killer. I want to give Wendy justice and her family justice, she says. Now, John Madden is definitely waiting for that justice for his baby sister. He vividly remembers the night he was told Wendy, the youngest of the family of three, was gone. His stepmother called and said that he needed to go to his uncle's house. It's about Wendy. Madden said he figured the news was one of two things. Either she was in a woman's correctional institution or she was in a body bag, unfortunately. He said his sister's use of drugs and alcohol led to a split between the two long before her passing. Now, Madden said she was involved in this church and was trying to get his own life together. He and his sister weren't on speaking terms when she was murdered. But the family did share good times. There was this nightly ritual of three siblings, John, Wendy, and Charlotte, giving each other hugs and kisses right at 7 p.m. at bedtime. He said they took trips with their father, including to Massachusetts, where they go to the beach. They would go surfing. They went to amusement parks, and they rode everything from roller coasters to a tilt-a-whirl. Ooh, I remember that. That thing used to make me so sick, but I loved it. Now, Madden said he paid for his sister's gravesite marker, which includes a quotation from the Old Testament. Love is as strong as death. Now, Madden has talked to Comer several times and was very thankful for the work she had put into the case. She even has a picture of my sister on her smartphone, he said, and she showed me. So Comer also has a picture of Wendy Madden on her desk, and that's kind of serving as a constant reminder of the work she's done and still needs to do. So much that her family knows who Wendy is. She works on the case every day, often at night, just on her own. She tries to go on that Facebook page every day. And on that page, she talks with Madden's friends, cousins, aunts, family members, anyone who routinely would thank her for keeping this investigation going. And she does media interviews for stories, making the anniversary of Madden's death kind of, memorial, kind of like a memorial. So she spends so much time working on this case and reviewing the files that she said it feels like a cold case television show where the detective on the show goes back in time in her mind and flashes between the future and the past. I get so deeply involved, she said. It's almost like I'm right there with her. And I love detectives like this because these are the ones that don't let go, but actually will solve crimes. The heart that she's showing me is just amazing, I think. In a recent interview, she had stated that she wanted to sit down one more time with the Rhode Island Department of Health and the crime lab to see if there's evidence to submit that hasn't, had the modern day testing. She started submitting evidence in 2014 and 15 and learned the turnaround time for DNA submissions is about 280 days. Wow, I did not know that. Cold cases fall to the end of the line behind active investigations. Now she keeps working to find a little bit more and a little bit more. One more piece of that puzzle, she said, and I think it could be solved. I think I'm almost there. It's a matter of squaring up some details, then presenting the case to her suspect and the Attorney General's office. It truly will mean everything to me to solve this case, she says, and she'll be eager to start the next cold case. Now, the next search for justice for another family. If you have any information about Wendy's life or anything that's happened to her, any of the circumstances surrounding her homicide, you are urged to contact Detective Susan Cormier at 401-727-9100. Oh, well, that was just that was good and bad because here we have a detective that is like eating and sleeping, breathing this case, trying really hard. In some cases, we don't even get a detective that will try. So kudos to her. That's amazing. That's great. How are you guys doing in chat? You guys doing okay in chat? Your chat is not moving. Did you all go to bed on me already? I know Unscripted's locking her doors. I know she's deadbolting right now. Well, if anyone's awake, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Miss Taylor Ellison. Now, as usual, guys, this story is part of a collaborative project between Project Cold Case and a University of North Florida journalism class. Oh, she's awake. Doing good, listening intensely. Melissa Melissa Ellison, known by many as Missy Taylor, was a mother, a sister, a friend. Missy loved her family. She had loving parents and four beautiful sisters. Missy being the second oldest of five. Missy loved everyone the same and managed to be everyone's best friend. Oh my goodness, that's a hard job. I couldn't imagine having to be everyone's best friend. I'd be fired. They'd fire me. Misty loved everyone the same and managed to be everyone's best friend. She loved being out in the sun, hanging about by the pool or the beach. She actually had a heart of gold and wouldn't hesitate to give the shirt off her back if she knew someone needed it. Missy loved listening to music, dancing, and watching a good movie. She was a huge fan of Prince. Well, looky there. I like Prince myself, some of it. Now, she said Missy's younger sister, Catherine, which they called her Sissy Bennett, Sissy stated, if you showed up at her house during the day, the stereo would be turned up as loud as it would go and she'd be dancing around cleaning to Prince. Sissy remembers seeing her sister give a man the only $3 that she had left. It was after separating from her husband and money was very tight for her. Missy did this act knowing that she had a baby at home that needed milk. After watching her older sister, she questioned Missy as to why she gave that guy that little bit of money she had. Missy responded, you always help someone in need, and then God will take care of you. Besides, I have mom and dad. He needed it. Oh, her being young at that age, I could see that. I could see someone saying that. Now, Glenda, one of Missy's other sisters, had stated that she would spend countless hours telling so many fun, interesting, and good things about her sister daily. The love she gave to her family and friends was enough to stay with us forever. Missy was the glue. She was the one that brought everyone together. If a bunch of us were getting together for a concert or a movie, she would always meet at her place. Now, this is said by Charles Chuck Marshburn, who was friends with Missy since grade school. She was popular in high school. Missy was an AB honor roll student. She got to do whatever she wanted because she was always doing right. Missy loved picking out clothes for the next day of school, and she even went out and got ready for her first prom. She loved to dress up and do all the girly things. Missy married out of high school and became pregnant shortly after. Missy was so excited to be a mom and took that role very serious. Her daughter Cassie was everything to her. Missy and her husband had separated a year after Cassie was born, and that didn't stop Missy from being the best mom she could be. Christmas was always the most wonderful time of year for the Taylor family. Now, their home would be filled with at least 30 people with decorations galore. Everyone loved it, but the most distinctive and contagious laugh belonged to Missy. Christmas of 1987 will be the last one the family would all spend together. And here's the sad part, guys. Missy was murdered in her Jacksonville home 3 days after Christmas on December 28th, 1987. The beautiful young mother was attacked while she was asleep in her room. Oh my God, that's frightening. Her body was found by her roommates. Her 13-month-old baby Cassie was found alive on the couch in the living room, but surrounded by pillows. It's been more than 3 decades since Missy's devastating murder, and the case is still unsolved. Her then 13-month-old daughter, Cassie, is now a grown woman with 3 children of her own. Cassie expressed, I'm exhausted. I find myself longing for my mom, and trauma can freeze an emotional response. At that age, you experience it. She was only 1 year old when her mom was murdered. Like, she's had 3 babies now, and she understands that what it's like to be a mom of a 1 year old. And she says, and I quote, I refuse to imagine what it would feel like to put them to bed one night and then never see them again. That is so heartbreaking. Now, murder is horrible. You can never understand it in any situation. She was a genuine woman, so down to earth, a great friend, a great person to have around. Missy was at home where we thought she was safe, says her sister, where she thought she was safe. Missy's friends always speak highly of her, and they used to always sing that famous Hank Williams song, changing the lyrics to if heaven ain't a lot like Missy. That's so cute. Her friends wanted to commemorate her first memory and added the lyrics onto Missy's memorial bench. Missy's family continues to sing when it Hank Williams Jr.'s songs when it comes on and remembers their beloved Missy. Now, Cassie expressed, it's been 35 years and life goes on without your loved ones or with them. You just have to get used to it. You're walking around with a giant crater and it cracked your world to the core. That's simply the new norm, a hole in your heart, and there's not anything anyone can do about it. If you have any information about Missy Taylor Ellison's case, that was featured in February of 2019 on that series Unsolved, aired by First Coast News in Jacksonville, Florida. Any information, anything, any tip, big or small, please contact the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at 904-630-0500. Hey Mustang, thank you for coming in. What have you been up to? Let me go on over to the next one. Come over here and see how you guys are doing in chat. Sorry guys for the late live. I know I'm just random. I'm random at night. If I'm awake around this time and I can't sleep, which is frequent, then I always do this. I'm surprised you guys are up so late though. But I don't know where you guys are all from either. The same Mustang, probably the same as you, because we've been surfing channels all day, haven't we? Okay, this is Jim Murray. Let me get a drink. I'm gonna mute real quick and get a drink. Y'all don't start no trouble, and if you do, make sure you include me. All right. Okay, so we have Jim Murray, Arkansas. Mustangs from Arkansas. Awesome. That's not too far from me. I'm Missouri, so you're right there by me. That's neat. All right, so we have Jim Murray. Sorry, I get sidetracked, guys. I apologize. Now, the newspaper article, I'm going to go ahead and read it first because it's up here on this website. Used car dealer shot, friend slain in robbery tried. The owner of Warren Motors was wounded, and a friend who was killed after 2 gunmen tried to rob them last night outside the Pearl Street car dealership in downtown Jacksonville. James Murray, 45, was shot in the head and pronounced dead at the University Hospital. Oh my. I think I'm going to go ahead and just read this article first because I kind of want to talk about him, not so much what happened yet. In 1973, Jim Murray lost his father. He became the family patriarch, taking care of his siblings and making sure everyone had what they needed to survive. By the time he was murdered 16 years later, they had learned to survive on their own, but that didn't make that loss any easier. Murray was an Army veteran, as well as a reserve officer and a veteran of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. He served as a commander for JSO's Reserve Corps. Now later, Murray started a family car business in Jacksonville, Springfield area. On March 7th, 1989, Murray was leaning over a parked car at One Motors, speaking to a business associate. Two men approached Murray, and the associates both fired guns. The associate managed to drive himself to the hospital. Murray died on the scene. When Murray's family received a phone call from JSO informing them of his murder, JSO had told them that the incident was a robbery gone bad. However, Murray's family remained skeptical. They cited the fact that they feel Murray would have complied with the robbers and also that nothing was taken from either man. The circumstances around Jim Murray's death still remain a mystery to this day. Now, his murder left a huge hole in the lives of his friends and family, a hole no one could ever fill. Murray was a father of two and a pillar in his own community. He was the firstborn and the older brother who was always quick with a joke. He was always there for me in a jam, and I could always count on him, says his brother Ken. He taught me how to treat people. He was just known as a good Samaritan, often caught asking people, "Is there anything I can do to help you?" Now, Murray was charismatic. My goodness, I have to stutter tonight. Did I miss anybody? If I missed anyone, I do apologize. Don't let her lie to you. She's from Portland. She's not. She's not. So Jim loved Elvis. She recalled time that Elvis came to Jacksonville and Murray waited in line for hours just to get a ticket. I would go by Crystal on Riverside Avenue and bring him scrambled egg sandwiches to eat while he was in line. Now she finally remembered a surprise birthday party she had thrown for her brother. Many friends and family attended. They even got him an Elvis impersonator. Murray loved to party, saying it was the best party he'd ever had. And it would also be his last, unfortunately. If you have any information on the unsolved murder of Jim Murray, please call the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit at 904-630-1157. That's heartbreaking. That's just terrible. I mean, to think you're at work, you're doing your job, you're selling cars, and then someone just comes in there and just your life's over. Guys, life is so precious. Don't take it for granted. That's terrible. It really is. It's horrible. Next, we have Ella Holland. Now, this is an older one from 1998, but like I said, they all matter either way. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying in chat. If I Oh, I know, I'm sure. Yeah, you'd probably be out there with your costume and your sign, unscripted chronicle. It's so hard for me to get used to saying that. He does sound like a good guy, Mustang. It seems like he was just a car salesman that was at work. Two guys pull up. They're trying to say it was a robbery, but they took nothing except for those two salesmen's lives. That's suspicious in its own, I think. What do you guys think? I just think that's odd. They didn't steal their wallets. They didn't do anything. So I don't see how that was a robbery. Maybe they tried to carjack the car, but I mean, they were selling the cars. I'm sure they would have just let them go. Yeah, I think so too, Mustang. I do. So Ella Holland. Ask anyone who knew Ella Holland. She was the life of the party. She would often spend her days cooking and cleaning and her nights out with friends having fun. Now, Ella Holland was born on February 24th, 1962. She was awfully close to her sister Carolyn. Now, the two would go skating and would often go ride their bikes around all over the neighborhood. When they got older, the sisters would go to clubs together. Ella was the big sister, even though I was older, Carolyn said. All the kids loved her. She used to always have us rolling. The laughter stopped July 7th, 1998. During morning patrol, a Jacksonville Sheriff's Office deputy discovered Holland's partially nude body on Church Street in that downtown area. Ugh. Holland was strangled and her body had been left in that spot for multiple hours. Now, then Tricia Holland was 15 years old when her mother was killed. A young woman was now left without her mom's compassion, guidance, or protection. If she was here today, she'd be living with me, then Tricia says, wishing she had a chance to repay her mom. Now, her daughter loved being with her mother. She loved going to the local laundromat simply just to wash clothes. She vividly recalls the days that Ella would dance around the house singing Anita Baker songs. And apparently Anita Baker was her favorite artist. The smell of ramen noodles and hamburger meat would fill the house. Ella would playfully chase her daughter around and her son Samuel around the house with a plastic bat. And with the sibling rivalry showed its face. The Holland family grew close and continuously showered each other with love and support. The family took a devastating emotional hit after Ella's death. All I did was play music and drink and cry, says Carolyn. I felt alone, says her daughter, while looking at a picture of her own mom. Aside of this tragic impact of her mother's murder, her daughter had suffered in other aspects as well. She candidly shares her attempts to end her life as well as the erosion of family relationships due to financial disputes. Ventricia recounts the memory where she was forced to confront and stand firm on her beliefs of appropriate care for herself and her brother. The aftermath of which forced her to stop her schooling and move out and move in with her brother. The young Holland kids were on their own, united in, and they were just always together, but they were united in shared grief. In 2014, police connected Holland's murder to a man that was serving time in prison, Philip Bennett. Now, he was serving 10 years for burglary charges, is what his sixth stint in prison. Wow. Police said that Holland and Bennett knew each other, but they didn't get along. Holland was friends with Bennett's girlfriend at the time. However, the charges related to Holland's murder were dropped. Tim hasn't stopped, and life has continued for the Holland children. My mama has two grandkids that know nothing about her, says Ventricia. Now, it's Ventrica, sorry. Ventrica says her 13-year-old daughter, Kari, resembles her grandmother that she'll never meet. Now, these grandchildren call Carolyn, Ella's sister, their grandma. Family bonds are tough to break. That's just obvious to see in the Holland family. They stick together through thick and thin. We all got what we got, she says. If you have any information about the unsolved murder of Ella Holland, please share her information or contact the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at 904-630-0500. But when I say share, sometimes people don't want to call law enforcement right away. If nothing else, share it to, I would prefer you just dial 911. But if you don't feel comfortable calling, share it with Project Cold Case, share it with someone that you really trust and have them call. It's very important that the police department be called immediately with any kind of information. You want to remain anonymous, you can. You can do that by calling the First Coast Crime Stoppers at 866-845-TIPS. And I'm sure a lot of people do actually do that just to stay out of the big picture. All right, let's see who's next. We have Helen Schaefer. Yes, I just think that is so sad that, so many people are losing their lives. And most of these that I'm going over tonight, I have never heard of. Like, this is just stuff that people have put in the corner, and it's not fair. It's just not right. These are human beings. They lost their life. They deserve to have the attention and be known for who they are. Helen Schaefer was a woman who always gave more than she ever expected to get back. She was a dedicated hospice nurse, serving the patients with all she had, just so that these patients would never die alone. But Helen died completely alone in the middle of the street, her killer fleeing the scene unnoticed. On most Friday nights, Helen and her grandkids would be on the couch watching movies. Oh, you're welcome, Mustang. On Friday nights, Helen and her grandkids would be on the couch watching movies. Helen would often walk across the street to get snacks for movie night. The Snappy Food store was the name of the store, and the neighborhood corner store that claimed to have the coldest beer in town was her normal stop. On July 2nd, 2016, at 9 p.m., as she was crossing Merrill Road in Jacksonville, Florida, Helen Schaefer was struck by a dark SUV traveling at a high rate of speed. Authorities said she had died at the scene. The following day, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office received a call from a woman believing her car was involved in a hit and run, but she didn't know who was driving at that time. Sure you didn't, lady. Officers identified the vehicle and brought it in for analysis. Christopher Schroeder, Helen's son, believed that the police had found, in his words, the smoking gun to solve this case. However, the SUV came back inconclusive because police were unable to determine who was driving it at the time of the incident. That makes me furious. They have the vehicle, they have the people, they just got to prove who was driving it. That sucks. Even though the vehicle that hit Helen has been located, the case is still unsolved and has been for almost 4 years because the driver is yet to be identified. Christopher's wife, Kat Schroeder, is reminded of her mother in law's death every day. She and her family members are constantly searching for the truth in order to find justice for Helen. Helen was very active and creative as a child. She found joy in riding horses and just doing ceramics. She crocheted till the day she died. Now, after high school, Helen studied in Pittsburgh at the School of Nursing. She always knew she wanted to help take care of other people. She didn't do it for recognition. She did something that her soul needed. Just being the same, just being in the same room as Helen would make you feel relieved and calm. Oh, that's just so heartbreaking. So many good people gone. Kat grew up in Lebanon and was unfamiliar with American dishes. Helen taught her all about the dishes she still cooks to this day. I can still see her in the kitchen showing me what to do when cooking any of those dishes. One of Kat's most cherished memories of Helen revolves around how much she loved to take care of her family. After Kat gave birth to her second child, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and underwent a full hysterectomy. Now, Helen couldn't just sit idle during that time, so she left Pittsburgh to take care of Kat and her newborn grandson in Jacksonville. It cost Helen her job in Pittsburgh because of how much time she spent, but she didn't mind. She didn't care. Family first. That was just who Helen was. She was loving, giving, and she always gave comfort. When Kat looks back, she can't even fathom the lengths that Helen went through to take care of people. She always went above and beyond, giving 155% in everything that she did. Helen's family continues to reach out to police regarding the case. The lack of answers are frustrating. The investigating detectives have already changed at least once, twice, even 4 times. Kat and her family are continuously reminded of Helen multiple times a day. She wonders why it happened and why it remains unsolved. This case being unsolved leaves the family with more questions than answers. During the hardest moments, Kat remembers one of Helen's favorite sayings: Man plans and God laughs." If you have any information on the unsolved murder of Helen Schaefer, please call the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at 904-630-0500. My goodness. And you hear such good things about these people. And I think that's kind of what gave me the idea to just start talking about the person before what happened. Because almost in all of these are good people, that genuine people that would give anybody anything. And, it brings us back to no good deed unpunished, because this is just so sad. Now, this is Kyle. Lynn Krieger still remembers the way her little boy used to laugh. The memory now helps her cope. Her boy, Kyle, I'm going to say this wrong. I'm going to say Bertus, but I'm not positive on how that is. I don't mean to be disrespectful by that, but if I said it wrong, I apologize. Kyle Bertus was dead at age 25. His murder has never been solved. When Kyle was young, he and his mom would often see families of ducks all around their neighborhood. One mother duck and her chicks made a home in the family's backyard. When they eventually moved on from the backyard, they left one baby duck behind. Lynn recalled how 7-year-old Kyle held that small duck in his hands, never wanting to let it go. I believe that's a duckling, but we'll go with chick. Gentle and determined, Kyle wanted to protect the duckling from, okay, it is duckling, to protect the duckling from any harm that night as it come its way. Lynn wishes she could have just done the same for her son. Growing up in Fort Myers, Florida, Kyle developed a love for sports and music. In high school, he would become a star on that cross-country team he always wanted to join. His athletic talent earned him a scholarship to the Florida Atlantic University, where he majored in business in the hopes that one day he might be an entrepreneur. Kyle grew up with a smile on his face. According to his mother, eventually, however, his smile started to slowly fade away. Now, at the time, I thought it was pressure of being a teenager, a young adult, and just not knowing what was going on. Then I found out later it was due to drugs. Family members went to Boca Raton? How do I pronounce that? Can anybody say Boca Raton? Okay, we're going to just go with Boca Raton to bring Kyle home after they found out he was struggling with drugs. Now, Lynn brought him to his grandparents' home so he could be separated from his current path. After a short stay with his grandma, Kyle moved out and began staying with his friends in Manor, a small community in South Fort Myers with a crime rate that is 34% higher than the national average. Oh no. Contact between Kyle and the rest of his family soon became sparse, and the relationship between mother and son became tense due to the distance. The last time Kyle spoke to his mom was June of 2013 when he was incarcerated. Now, he was requesting bail money. After Kyle was released from jail, Lynn's brother in law went to Pine Manor one day to see him. Kyle told his uncle to tell his mom he said hello and sends his love. That would be the last thing she would ever, or any comment she would ever get from her son. While on a trip to Mississippi in August 2013, Lynn received a phone call late one night. On the phone was a detective from the Lee County Sheriff's Office, letting her know that her son has passed on. Authorities said Kyle's body was found in a field in a desolate area off Leah Acres, a small unincorporated community in Cape Coral and Fort Myers region. There was heavy rain when Kyle's body was deposited, and due to decomposition, detectives said there was just not enough evidence left to pinpoint who was responsible for the murder. After a few years of no one coming forward with any kind of information, the case went cold. Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers mailed nearly 5,000 postcards to residents of that Pine Manor community, hoping anyone would reach out. Now, Kevin, Kyle's uncle, said he heard the news of his nephew's homicide on his birthday. Ever since then, the occasion has become somber, and nothing else will ever be the same again. The most frustrating part is there's someone out there who knows what happened to my sister's son, yet no one will come forward with answers. And you know what? That could stop our lives of wondering just what happened to Kyle. Lynn struggles with the lack of answers. If he just knew what happened, if he could finally get to grieve, just like his mother should be able to too. But it's nearly impossible with the what ifs. Now, if you have any information at all, please contact the Lee County Sheriff's Office at 239-77-1000. To remain anonymous and be eligible for an enhanced reward, call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-780-TIPS. My goodness. Terrible. All right, let's just look at chat. What y'all got going on in chat over here? Y'all sleeping? Wake up, wake up. I don't know if I have my train wreck to wake you up. I might start. There it is. Ah, we're awake now. I know, I'm just playing Mustang. So now we have James Weaver. Far. Eating tea? How do you eat tea, Far? Eating tea. I'm curious to how you eat tea, Far. You're not unscripted. You're asleep. That's okay. Just keep typing. I'll let you know about it tomorrow. Oh, it's dinner, aka tea. Oh, okay. So you call your dinner tea. I'm really confused because I know that in the UK they have their morning tea and another tea. I don't remember what else they have, but yeah. For us, tea is like spill the tea. We want to know the gossip. You could eat your uncle's coffee. That's so funny. Yes, my tea is your dinner. Okay. All right. I'll try to remember that. I don't know how the kiddo is going to take that. Be like, here you go, kiddo. Here's your tea. I'll let you know because he's a mess. All right. So we have James Weaver, and he's also an unsolved homicide victim. So James Marlowe Weaver was a generous, kind, and helpful Navy veteran who loved his family more than anything. Now, James grew up in Louisiana as the youngest of 6 children. Their mother, Annie Mae, died when James was only 13. He and one sister were the only 2 left at home, and the other 4 children had moved out at that point. The Weaver siblings were all very close, and James was especially close to his brother Richard. Richard and James were in the Navy at the same time, and James even lived with Richard when they were stationed together. Excuse me. Now, June Weaver, Richard's wife, said he was always around. She would see him every day. He was just always there. James lived with Richard and June in Charleston, South Carolina. Then June gave birth to their first child. June tells the story of the day James decided to cut his newborn niece's fingernails. He clipped the end of her finger and it bled like crazy and it was all over him, she said with a hearty laugh because it wasn't anything major, but he freaked. After this time in the Navy, James and his wife moved to Fleetwood Mobile Homes and RV Park in Jacksonville, Florida. The Weavers would live in that park while James worked as the park ranger. Family was everything to James. He loved nothing more than spending time with his family. It didn't take much to make him happy or his family happy. He would often ride four wheelers with his kids or sit around the house and simply just enjoy their quality time together. You guys are so silly in chat. The quality family time would come to an end on May 26, 1985. James and his wife were babysitting their 9-month-old grandson that night. Mrs. Weaver fell ill during the night, and the couple's oldest daughter drove her to the hospital. When they returned in the morning, the two women discovered James lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood. Now, according to investigators at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, Jacksonville again, the suspect entered the Weaver home by opening a window and reaching through to unlock the door. Despite the blunt force trauma determination, police were never able to locate a weapon. My God, what? Oh, that's terrible. Investigators believe that robbery was the motive, as few items were stolen from the home, including $300 from the safe in the manager's office. The grandchild, thankfully, was left unharmed and was still asleep in his crib when the women returned home from the hospital. Now, there could have potentially been two homicides that day. Detective Ray Reeves told Action News Jax in 2018. Fleetwood Mobile Home and RV Park is in the same location on Phillips Highway today. The name remains the same all these years later. In fact, the current park office is very trailer that James Weaver was murdered in. Oh wow! So now the office is actually where that was in the mobile home where James was murdered is now their office. Hmm, I don't know about all that. June Weaver doesn't exactly remember how she found out about the news about her brother in law, but she does remember being at home and it made her husband Richard feel so heartbroken, just destroyed. The memory of an American Navy soldier is now left to his surviving family. The weight of grieving her husband's death, along with now carrying the torch for getting her brother in law justice, clearly is weighing on June. I wish there was some more help, she says. A lot of times I can't remember things. There are many Weavers remaining. There aren't many family members that knew James Weaver left, but the memory of a life well lived is fading. Who will continue to fight for justice in this cold case? In the 15,000 cases in Jacksonville, Florida, or the 250,000 unsolved cases in this country, I won't give up because I know Richard wouldn't give up. As long as I can, I will continue on. Now, if you have any information on the unsolved murder of James Marlowe Weaver, please call the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at 904-630-0500. It's just terrible. So they go to the hospital, they come home, and he is like deceased on the floor. That's terrible. If they didn't go to the hospital, I wonder if the outcome, I mean, the wondering doesn't get us anywhere, but at the same time, it's almost like, did they know he was the only one there? So it makes me feel like maybe somebody was close to them that knew that the girls were gone. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? I'm curious what Unscripted thinks because she's already asleep. She could pop up with like hot dog. And she's asleep. Okay. We only have two left, guys. Don't worry. I won't keep you up all night. This is Alan Dale Gunn. Alan Gunn loved to draw. He was good at it. He dreamed of using his drawing talents to one day become an architect. He was known as a hard worker. Alan worked construction and did what was necessary to support his wife, Patricia, and their 18-month-old daughter, Carrie. Now, Patricia was also pregnant with their second child, Andrea. Alan took on a second job as a part-time taxicab driver with the family growing to bring in some extra money. After the night of January 9th, 1977, Allen couldn't provide for his family anymore. He had been murdered. His body was found 500 feet away from his cab, and he was only 32 years old. Aw. Allen was raised in a small town in Colquitt County, Georgia. Allen loved hunting, much like the rest of the small town community. Growing up in a poor home, Allen had ambition to live a better life. He drew in his spare time. Some of these drawings included sketches of buildings, laying the groundwork for Allen's architect ambitions. Carrie still has some of those designs hanging on her wall. Growing into a tall, pale, lanky man with long blonde hair and a mustache, Allen had a passion for helping people in the community, leading to him working toward being a pastor. Now, Allen then shifted gears and started working in construction, still holding on to that dream of becoming an architect. He eventually moved to Tampa, where he met his wife and started a family, and he had lived there 14 years until his passing. And here's the sad part. On the day of his death, Allen picked up a cab fare at the Greyhound bus station in the downtown area of Lutz, Florida. At that time, the area was a poor neighborhood, and several other cab burglaries had occurred. Well, Allen was later found having been shot twice and robbed of $7 in his cab, parked not too far away. That is so sad. Robbed for $7. The effect of Allen's death in the family has just been monumental. Patricia and her daughters moved in with their parents. My mother would stand at the door just waiting on Dad to return home. Growing up, Andrea and Carrie were often told scenarios regarding his death, such as car or construction accidents. As they got older, they learned the truth. Allen's murder directly affected Andrea and Carrie's lifestyles. Carrie had her father's appetite for helping people, worked as a licensed therapist for children for 15 years. Andrea worked as a skip tracer whose job is to locate people who are missing or have defaulted on a debt. Working as a skip tracer, Andrea utilized her skills to try and solve her father's murder to no avail. Andrea thinks Allen would be remembered as someone that made a difference. Despite being from a small town, he was able to make something of himself. That's how he'd want to be remembered. Based on accounts from Patricia, Allen was nice, smart, fun, and loving. According to her daughters, Patricia was never the same after Allen's death. Pictures of Patricia show how distant and hurt she was after the murder. Even 41 years later, she continues to think of Allen every single day. If you have any information on the unsolved murder of Allen Gunn, please call the Tampa Police Department at 813-276-3200. That's just terrible. That's heartbreaking. And with babies at home at that. Horrible. Just horrible. Okay, guys, and here's our last one. This is, I don't really know how I want to pronounce it. I'm going to say Andrew, and I think it's Andrew with EU. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Andrew. Andrew Batten. Now, Andrew Batten comes from a large, close-knit, loving family, once all nestled into their namesake, Batten Road. Growing up on a private dirt road, his brother and cousins would play in the sand for hours. Betty, his mother, stated she would yell at him and to all just this is kind of funny. The mom stated she would yell at them all to get right into the bathroom to clean themselves up. Now, Andrew was extremely close to his brother. Andrew would always take his younger brother Timmy out with him everywhere he went. He was always supportive and never once told the kid no until he started dating. His mother, Betty, laughed while reminiscing on the bond of her sons. The brothers' favorite activity together was setting off fireworks during special occasions like New Year's Eve, 4th of July. Andrew was a loving, sweet boy. He grew up in St. Augustine, Florida. They enjoyed spending time hunting and fishing with their father. As a child, his grandfather worked on the railroad station, and Andrew was always interested in that technology and putting things together. For Christmas, Andrew would always ask for something to put together. Now, Betty would take him to Radio Shack, and he was always going to pick out a kit to build radios or walkie-talkies. Andrew was infatuated with computers and technology. His beloved grandfather gave Andrew a computer at age 11. He was ecstatic, and he took care of it just like it was gold. Now, Andrew attended Nice High School, graduating in 96 with honors. He then continued his education, his AA degree from St. John's River State College. After graduating, Andrew worked for AOL for 10 years. Wow, what a very smart guy. Andrew started at the bottom and slowly just worked his way up through the company. By the end of his tenure, he was part of what they called the think tank. He had been responsible for fixing computers and helping others build their websites. Wow, so very intelligent guy. Andrew fell in love and got married. They had a beautiful family together. Andrew did a lot of things with his kids. He'd travel, they'd go to theme parks, they went on picnics. Now, Andrew's dad has always showed his ropes of mechanics and changing tires. Andrew later used those skills to renovate the home they were living in, adding a fourth bedroom so each child could have their own room. After leaving AOL, he got a job working for Citibank and he moved to Costa Rica to train around 30 new employees about computer fraud. His mom said he loved Costa Rica because the people were warm and inviting. Betty admired how he moved to a place where he knew no one and was able to make himself comfortable. She remembers that one specific memory. I was talking to him one day on the phone and he was in a cab on his way to work and he was rattling off Spanish to the cab driver. "You don't even sound like my son," she says, and they giggled. On June 1st, 2012, Andrew and his father left for a trip to South Carolina to go hunting for a weekend of work to help clean up the area for the upcoming hunting season. That Friday night, they did arrive. Andrew's father went to sleep to prepare for the next morning hunt. Now, Andrew took a bath that night, got bored, and started to walk around the campground. It was a Friday night. Nobody was there since the hunt starts on Saturday. His father woke up early that morning to find Andrew was gone. He wasn't in his bed. That morning, Andrew's parents called the authorities looking for their son, and they were notified that he was found deceased lying on the road. South Carolina Highway Patrol had no leads on the case, and they went cold. Oh my God, that's horrible. Since that terrible morning, Andrew's family has continued to fight for the answers for their son. Someone must know something somewhere because something this tragic, it just can't be done by one person, I don't think, she says. Now, they continue to honor his memory. Andrew always had a video camera out for every special holiday or even just recording. He loved it. After his passing, every Father's Day, each one of his kids gets to pick out a home video of their dad to watch. Now, Andrew had a wonderful laugh and a beautiful smile. He would come up and say, "Mom, you haven't had a hug today, have you?" And he would come up and give me the huge hug, she says. Oh, that's so sweet. This year will be 11 years since they have lost Andrew. Betty hopes that law enforcement can learn to have better coordination with victims' families. Hallelujah. I hear you there, lady. She wants them to know that Andrew is not forgotten, never will be forgotten, and that his family is still fighting for answers. If you have any information about the hit and run crash that killed Andrew Batten, please contact the South Carolina Highway Patrol at 803-896-9621. Oh my goodness, that is terrible. That's just so sad. And see, it's just like that, guys. Like in just a heartbeat, it can all be over. Isn't that? I'm telling you, it's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you. Unless you want me to cover something else. Is there anything else you want me to update or look up real quick? I'll leave it up to you guys for a few minutes and then we'll go from there. You're welcome, Mustang. Just some latest updates. Madison Fields has been located safe, if you're not aware. And there was a young lady, I can't think of her name right now, but she was like 41 weeks pregnant. She has also been located, but now they're saying she may not have been pregnant. I don't know. I haven't gotten into all that. All I know is that they're both safe and located, and that's what matters the most. All right, guys. Well, if that's it, these are the 10 of the unsolved cold case homicides that Project Cold Case puts out. I do have a link in the description of this live so you can check them out for yourself. There are so many on there, you would never believe it. With that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. God bless you all. If you don't pray, that's okay. I'll pray for you. I have no problem doing that. And guys, lock your doors, stay safe, and I hope to see you tomorrow. I'm not positive I'll be live tomorrow. Like I said, my grandson is on spring break. We'll see how it goes. But if I don't talk to you tomorrow, I'll see you in chat somewhere. I'm sure of it. So stay warm, guys. It's super cold here. We have snow flurries going on right now, and it was like 81 2 days ago. So stay safe out there, lock your doors, and God bless you all. Until next time, guys. Bye bye.
In a world that turns too fast, some are lost, left in the past. But we won't let silence win. We'll speak their names again. Voices rising through the dark. Every story leaves a mark. We are the ones who won't forget. The fight for truth is not done yet. We shine the light, we raise the call. For the missing, the broken, we stand tall. For justice, for healing, for every tear, we carry their names